I'm Executive Head for Technology and Innovation at Inspired Testing. Today, I'm joined by Rex Jones, who's based in the US. Rex has completed a journey from transitioning from functional testing to automation testing. Rex, thanks for joining on the show. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you. My name is Rex Jones II, and I like testing software applications. It can be with functional testing or with automation. I have 15 years of experience, 5 years as a functional tester, and 10 years as automation. And to make it personal, I have a wife, 2 kids, a daughter and a son. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. My sister's the oldest, and I have 5 brothers. And I have nearly 50 nieces and nephews. And I'm happy to be here with you.
You know, it's thinking about it, being in this industry for a while and talking to a lot of functional testers, it's always been intimidating for functional testers to transition into automation. Yes. When did you decide to make this transition?
I agree. It's very intimidating. And I made the decision 10 years ago to get into automation. And I believe one of the main reasons why it's intimidating, because of the unknown. People wonder how hard will it be? And they may have heard that automation was hard because it deals with programming. So I agree, it is very intimidating, but I believe anyone can do it if they put their mind to do it.
Yeah, so you know, it's very common. I can say that I've speak to a lot of functional testers, and they're exactly the same feeling when they are transitioning into automation. They sort of look at it and think, oh, this is too intimidating. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this. You know, where do I start? And that sort of thing. You know, what were your motivating factors around this transition? Why did you make this transition?
Yes, and I had some of the same questions before I started. And there were mainly 3 motivating factors for me. I would say curiosity was a motivating factor for me. I was curious. Mm-hmm. The second motivating factor was I knew what was coming when it comes to automation and when it comes to our testing field. And the third motivating factor was fear. I was curious because I was at my first company as a QA tester, functional, and a developer called me over to sit by his desk. And he pushed a button, and I saw the same steps that I was performing as a functional tester automated when he just sat back and I saw the same steps. And I was curious to what he was doing and how he did it. So I was curious was one motivating factor. The second was in our industry, I noticed how more companies was looking for people who knew automation. So that was the second motivating factor. And the third motivating factor was fear. I'll be honest, I was scared, I was fearful, mainly because of people who I was associated with. I was around other people who was fearful, and their thoughts became my thoughts. So I think it's very important to be careful who you listen to, because whoever has your ear can influence you. And they influenced me by their negative thoughts, and I became scared. I realized I was afraid of something that I did not have to be afraid of.
You know, one of the biggest fears I think most functional testers have is the statement that the world is moving towards automation. You know, if I think about that statement's probably about 15 years old. So, you know, the world's already moved towards automation. It's up to everybody else to not be left behind, to stay current. And, you know, that should be one of the biggest fears for people to transition into this, is not wanting to be left behind. Talk me through the process from decision-making to execution. How did you decide what steps to take, who to take them with, and why?
I decided what to take by looking at what was the most automation tool that was in demand. And at that time, it was QTP, Quick Test Professional. Now it's called UFT, Unified Functional Testing. So that's why I focused on what was most in demand. And once I figured out what was most in demand, that's when I put a plan together to start learning automation. And for as who I learned it from, I learned from all kind of people. Because at that time, I worked for a consulting company, and they were heavily invested into us learning education. Anything when it comes to learning, they was really big on that. So I purchased courses from a lot of people and I read books. So that's why I believe getting some knowledge from people who are doing what you want to do is very important. And I'm glad I made that step towards automation because I did not want to get left behind.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there in that you never stop learning, and there's nobody that you can't learn from. Me, even at 17 years in the industry, I can still learn on a day-to-day basis from the newly appointed intern, because it's a different perspective, and that sort of thing. It sounds as if you've put in a lot of your own work as well, your own time into getting this, reading books, attending those courses. Where do you see this transition taking you in your future career? What would you say are the main advantages of going through this transition for our audience?
The main advantages is being technical, because now it helps me on my current team when it comes to our agile, when we're having code reviews, even for developers. When they're walking through their code, I can read their code, and that helps me to come up with good test scenarios for automation. So there are a lot of advantages, plus you become more confident. And when it comes to being confident, I think that's very important because it's so many new technologies that's coming out. But with a good foundation of technical expertise, it will help you to learn the next thing that's coming out. Because if you learn one thing, you can learn another. Some of the concepts are very similar. And by being similar, it makes the transition to learn the next language or anything smooth.
What were some of the challenges you experienced on this journey, and how did you manage to overcome them?
Some of the challenges was mainly internal, because I had doubts, I had fears of who would hire me with no experience as an automation tester. Since I have so many years of functional testing, do I start over with automation? So the challenges was mainly internal. Who will hire me? Why would they hire me? If I can get a job with no experience. But as time go on, when you talk to more people, you will realize there are plenty of people that's getting jobs with little experience, because some companies are looking for people with minimal experience, and some are looking for people with years of experience. So I believe the challenges was mainly internal with me in my mind.
I think that's very accurate, Rex. Thinking about it, people always say, but nobody's given me the chance to do automation, and that sort of thing. I'm very much a person, if I want to learn and implement something, I will do it in my own time. And if it's feasible, take it back to your stakeholders, your test manager, and show them what you've done, and you will be given those chances. So I think, there's a lot that I relate to in your journey, and it's been a fantastic one so far for you. I think this is going to wrap up our first part of this podcast. Thanks, Rex, for joining us. Be sure to tune in, guys, for part 2 of this, where Rex continues his discussion around the transition from functional testing into automation.